Okay, last but not least, we are in the home stretch of 12.1, and I promise I will stop talking after this. 12.1, all I want to talk about is coronary circulation. So it's actually the circulation or how the heart, that big muscle itself, has a blood supply of its own. So if you look at this picture of the heart, you'll notice that the heart is covered in these little tiny blood vessels. And the point of that is, we talked about every single cell has to have oxygen in order to create energy. Well, the heart muscles are no different. Those heart muscles, which you think about it, they're working really hard. They need a lot of energy. So they're going to need a high supply of oxygen, which means a high supply of blood. So you see, we have these coronary arteries, these nice red, which we know there's no color differentiation, but in this picture, they are red. Those are going to be our coronary arteries. They're taking oxygenated blood. Notice it's coming right off here, off the aorta. That's taking oxygenated blood to all of these nice, healthy heart muscles. Whereas represented in blue up here, those are the coronary veins. Once those blood vessels have dropped off all of their oxygen, that blood is going to then return to the right side of the heart to be dumped into the right atrium. But all of that blood needs to be returned so that it can then be pumped to the lungs and pick up oxygen again. So here is its nice little blood flow supplying the heart itself with oxygen. Now, the problem with that is what happens when things go wrong. So what we're talking about here is a heart attack. So if we go back one, more frequently, like if you're watching Grey's Anatomy, you might hear them refer to a heart attack as an MI or myocardial infarction. But an MI is another name for a heart attack. And a lot of people think that a heart attack might have something to do with this inside or a blockage inside your heart. And it does not. It has nothing to do with the inside of your heart. It has everything to do with this coronary circulation. So let's say that there was a small blockage right here. So let's say you had some cholesterol, high cholesterol, you have some buildup of plaque in those arteries, and you get a blockage in that artery right here. Well, this is relatively, for this picture, that's a small artery. But if you think about it, if this is blocked off, then all of these heart muscle cells that are hooked up to that blood supply, they're no longer getting fresh oxygenated blood, which means they're not making energy, which means they can't do their job and they're not going to survive. So what you see here is that small section of cells, everything past that roadblock, it's not going to get the supplies, it's going to die off. And that's really what a heart attack is. And so there are different degrees. You may hear somebody of having a major heart attack. Well, a major heart attack might be caused by one of these major arteries. So if I had a blockage right here in this coronary artery, look at all of the heart muscle cells that would be affected, everything down here that's being supplied. So that's a huge kind of roadblock there. And that might lead to a massive heart attack. So if all of these cells of this heart were to die off, our heart probably isn't going to function very well. Those cells aren't going to contract, and we could have some major problems here. Whereas there are times where there are smaller blockages in these smaller arteries where maybe it's just a small patch of cells. It's still a heart attack, but it is possible to have heart attacks where people do not even know they've had a heart attack, because even though that small patch of cells has died or is affected, it's not affecting necessarily the large grand scheme of things of heart being, or the heart muscles contracting. It's still able to do that, and blood is still flowing through the heart efficiently. So that's kind of where you get the difference between major heart attacks, minor heart attacks. If you've ever heard of somebody getting a stent in their heart, so if one of these blood vessels are blocked, it is possible to go in and deploy a stent where it would actually go in and open up that artery and allow blood to pass through. So that's a way around some of those blockages. So I hope that helps you better understand what a heart attack is, what's happening. Again, it has nothing to do with the inside of the heart. It has everything to do with supplying those heart muscles, keeping them alive and healthy and able to pump. What I would suggest now, I've kind of gone through everything with 12.1 that I want to touch on. I would suggest doing your reading. I know I gave you a couple of diagrams to help you with labeling. So I'd want to make sure that you can label the 4 chambers, label the 4 valves, and also label the 4 main arteries coming off the heart. You might want to go through and check out in your book, answer your checkpoints, make sure you can do that. And if you guys can really make sure you get 12.1 done by the end of this week, you'll be right on track. I probably won't post 12.2 until next week. So good luck. If you have any questions, I'll be in contact with you guys, and have a good week.